There's excitement in the air. Two of Europe's biggest leagues makes a return this weekend, the English Premier League and the Spanish La Liga. Not forgetting, Crystal Palace defeating Liverpool in the Community Shield. Once again, reigning supreme at Wembley. With that, I welcome you to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolisi. As always, I do this in company of my homeboy, Bankole Oladunu. We have a lot in store for you. And don't forget, the juiciest part of this show is where we give you tips on the Tipsters Corner. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we set the ball rolling. Welcome back from that short break. Sports Pizza, Edwin and Bankole in the building. Bankole, what's up? How you doing?
Edwin, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. Premier League starts this weekend. The Spanish La Liga also starts this weekend. I can't wait to see my darling Manchester United in action against Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's buzzing. It's always nice to have league football resume from the Premier League, like you said, and the La Liga. Upper we could see the Serie A also, and subsequently the Bundesliga.
And the French Ligue 1.
Yeah, the French Ligue 1 also, yes, which a lot of people can forget about. But yeah, this is our job to cover all of these leagues, regardless of their number of fans. But yeah, it's always good to see football back on our screens, especially after watching the Community Shield.
Talking about the Community Shield, Bankole, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Liverpool were favourites going into this game, expectedly so. But for Crystal Palace, once again, they've shown that in the one-off against the big sides, they can hold their own, pull their weight, and they came out victorious. You would also say that it was full value for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was even an easier win than the game against Manchester City. Yes, I think they had it easy against Liverpool than they did against Manchester City. Against Manchester City, at some point, they were holding on to that victory. But this one, they were going toe-to-toe to Liverpool. After the first 30 minutes, where Liverpool went ahead, Jeremy Frimpong getting lucky with his cross. I think Crystal Palace absolutely, honed the game. They controlled every aspect of the game. A lot of people, a lot of people take possession for control, and that's not the truth. So Crystal Palace had Liverpool where they wanted them to be. They had control of the space. It's not necessarily have control of the ball, but every aspect of the game, Crystal Palace had it. They had control of the midfield. Iberici Eze absolutely dominated. The same thing with Lacroix, the same thing with Mateta. Virgil van Dijk looked spent, probably because he has not gotten up to speed with his physicality. And like we also know, the Community Shield is also a glorified friendly, not no disrespect to the trophy, but it is a pre-season friendly. So you look at a lot of Liverpool players, maybe physically they are not up to speed, but that's not taking anything away from Crystal Palace. They absolutely bossed the game. Yeah,
we'll get to Liverpool in a moment, but let's focus on Crystal Palace and the job Oliver Glasner has done. Joined the club, I think the early part of 2024. He's landed them their first ever trophy. That's the FA Cup, and now the Community Shield. How far can he take this Crystal Palace side in the coming season? I mean,
it was surprising to see Glasner go on to pick Crystal Palace. This was an Europa League winner with Frankfurt. He was seen like the next manager at Bayern Munich. Even though he was not German, he had that German education in terms of his coaching. So it was quite surprising to see him go to Crystal Palace. But that's the law of the English Premier League. So this season is going to be difficult for Crystal Palace. Yes, they might have gone on to win the Community Shield against Liverpool. But I think in terms of recruitment, they are struggling. Douglas Friedman, their sporting director, the man who readied their recruitment from the Championship, and also tapping in talents from South London. He has left the club, so it's just down to Oliver Glasner and a couple of higher ups who are not exactly renowned in terms of recruitments that are going around. And you can see how it has shown their recruitment business. They are holding on to Eze because they know if he leaves, they don't have their chances of replacing him adequately is very slim. So I think you look at the business they've done, considering they will be in Europe. We don't know which one, probably the Europa League or the Europa Conference League, but they will be in Europe, juggling all of these competitions. I think to take a toll in them. But it won't take anything away from Oliver Glasner. He's an amazing manager, and they would still manage him to make it someone in around mid-table and top half of this.
Talking about Eze, Bankole, you get a feeling that him at a bigger club, we probably will see Eze hit a certain height we think he can. And a club like Crystal Palace, where more often than not against the big boys, they are on the back foot, you can see his talent still shine through. Imagine him being in a team where they'll be on the front foot. Do you think that it elevates his game and also elevates his standing in football?
I mean, I don't think it's that straightforward. I think Iberici Eze, from what we've seen at Crystal Palace, is an amazing player. He's not your typical winger. He doesn't hold the touchline. He likes to drift inside.
Yeah.
He likes to, play like an hybrid number 10. Let me put it that way. And at Crystal Palace, you get that luxury. You get that freedom of not, trying to press, of not trying to form or conform into a certain system. But in bigger clubs, you have to play a certain way. You have to have discipline in terms of your position. You have to have, an idea of what the manager wants you to be. And he's not going to be as straightforward as saying, oh, he's good at Crystal Palace, which means whatever it is that he's doing at Crystal Palace can translate, into a bigger club. You have to look at his physical advantages and technical advantages that he's having at Crystal Palace. Is he going to have it as at an Arsenal or at a Chelsea or Real Madrid, all of these bigger teams? So it's all of these questions that I don't think it will be quite easy for Iberici. But he's a talented player, no doubt. He's like the Wilfred Zaha conundrum. You saw how good he was at Crystal Palace, but at some point it just felt like Crystal Palace was where he was going to be, and I think for Eze, he's probably getting into that that region. He's 27, and maybe a year or two. I think a lot of big clubs will do a step back if he doesn't make that move this summer. But yeah, I think he's a talented player, like I said, and maybe if we see him at a bigger club, there is a high chance that he goes on to do well.
All right, let's talk about the bigger club. This time, our focus is on Liverpool. Let's talk about the positive before we go to the negatives. I would say the new boys, Kekes, Frimpong, Ekitike, Florian Wirtz. I thought they were good, particularly Florian Wirtz. You could see a glimpse of what he will bring to this Liverpool side, his movement, his passes in tight spaces. Frimpong, I thought he was good. All of the attacking characteristics that he possessed at Bayer Leverkusen, we saw it in full flow. Ekitike took his goal well. Kekes also, there were a bit of questions about his positioning, but overall, I thought it was a decent outing for all four debutants. Yeah,
of all of the new signings, like you said, I think Kekes was the one who struggled the most. I think Frimpong, a lot has been said about his defensive aspect of the game, but I don't think he was really exposed in this game. And also up front, I think he covered well for Salah, who was non-existent in this game. So Ekitike scored a goal. Florian Wirtz, I think he was average. For a 125 million player, I don't think that's the performance that we should be expecting. We should be expecting more from him. But yeah, not too bad all the same. So you look at all of this, I think Liverpool would be happy, to go into the season, especially when you consider, like I said before we went into this, that it's a pre-season friendly. Most of these guys are not up to speed, physically. To take a couple of games, a run of games, for them to get into their groove. You could see Virgil van Dijk, a lot of his decision making were mental errors. They were not exactly because of lack of ability. Same thing with Salah, same thing with the guys in the midfield. I look at all of this and I don't think Liverpool fans should panic. I don't think Liverpool will be panicking. It's a friendly game, and it has given them an idea of what to expect going into the season. If they go on to lose against Bournemouth, or if they're going to drop points against Bournemouth, then they can start panicking. But for now, I think it's all good.
But yeah, while I agree with you that it still has this pre-season feel to it, one must also look at some of the lapses in this Liverpool team, particularly in midfield where they were overrun by Crystal Palace. Physicality, there was no protection, and of course in defense where Virgil van Dijk was exposed. I thought he didn't particularly cover well for Kekes also. Konate had a decent time out, but overall, for Liverpool to retain their title this season, Bankole, there has to be a replacement for Gravenberch, and of course, one centre-back has to be brought in before the transfer window ends, because the whole focus is on getting Isak, whereas the issues are in midfield and defence.
Yeah, absolutely, and I still think coaching can cover up a lot of these lapses. I think the relationship between Virgil van Dijk and Kerkez is not up to speed yet. If that gets up to speed, if we get to see the relationship he had with Andy Robertson, I think it would also help Kerkez. And I also think, like I said, because Virgil van Dijk is not up to his physical best, he has not gotten up to speed with the pace of the game yet. And that has also shown in Kerkez's game with his leadership and his ability. He will also absolutely cover up for Kerkez. In midfield, That's why I agree with you. I don't think they need a body to be a backup to Gravenberch. I think that they need a body to be an upgrade to Gravenberch. I don't think Gravenberch is your number 6, especially when you consider the amount of attacking bodies they would have. You would have Salah, you would have Jeremy Frimpong, you would have Ekitike, you would have Cody Gakpo in left wing. You have Florian Wirtz. That's 5 attacking bodies out of 9, and so you need a 6 who can cover a lot of grounds, who can cover for Frimpong, who can cover for Florian Wirtz, and when he leaves spaces. McAllister is not going to do a lot of running. Yes, is how will I say it? Is agile, is quite pacey. He knows how to move around, but he's not the best when it comes to covering defensive positions. Szoboszlai, we don't know if he's going to be making the starting 11 week in, week out. So I think they need an upgrade on Gravenberch. We jokingly said it before the start of the show about how taking the money away from the Isak pursuit and putting into probably Carlos Baleba, and that would probably make a lot of sense. But they are hell-bent on getting Isak. It remains to be seen how he plays. But I still think coaching can cover a lot of these lapses at Liverpool. And the only thing that can probably curtail their title challenge is probably just injuries. All
right, that takes us into the Premier League season 2024-2025. Like you said, Liverpool versus Bournemouth and Anfield. Will Liverpool retain their title?
It's quite tricky. I still think they are still the best team. I don't think a lot of teams have done enough in the transfer market to...
Arsenal?
I don't think so. I think you look at Liverpool, you look at the business they've done, you look at the business that is still pending that they might likely do. I think it has taken them another level higher than they were last season. Arsenal, yes, they've done also good business, but I also think there are lapses, in the way they play. They still lack a bit of creativity up front. It's all about Saka or nothing, and we saw it on all of their preseason games, and they don't look like they're also going to add bodies. Eberechi Eze looks like a decent signing, but I don't see how much he upgrades them to the point of catching up with Liverpool. So I think Liverpool are still the top dog in English Premier League, and it's most likely that they'll go on to defend their title.
In all of this, you didn't mention Manchester City and Chelsea.
Yeah, I think Chelsea, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I think Chelsea would have a better season than Manchester City. Most likely even Arsenal. I look at what they've done, I look at their business, it's starting to
but all of this is pre-season. Same way you said for Liverpool.
But Chelsea, we saw it at the Club World Cup. We saw it at the Club World Cup. We saw what is brewing from the Club World Cup. Defeating PSG. Even at the tail end of last season, they won 15 games. Losing just 1, and that was a red card against Newcastle. So it seemed like something is gradually, and this is the first time in a very long time that a manager is doing consecutive seasons at Chelsea. So you look at all of this now, and it seems like it's starting to just click into gear, and they're starting to get smart with their signings. You look at Estevao coming in after he signed a couple of years ago. João Pedro looks like a big hit. Liam Delap also looks like a big hit. The likes of Cole Palmer is still around. Caicedo is growing in leaps and bounds. Enzo Fernandez. These are guys. Andre Santos, we saw him in the game against AC Milan, dropping that assist against for Liam Delap. So it looks like a young team that is gradually gelling together. They might not be able to go the full distance to challenge for the title, but I think they'll be there and about and probably be above us now.
What do you make of Europa League finalists last season? Tottenham Hotspur who have a new manager, and of course Manchester United with Ruben Amorim, and of course how do you think they can get back into that top 5, top 6 conversation where you also have the likes of Newcastle and Aston Villa?
For Spurs, I think it's going to be difficult. New manager, new system. A lot of these players, James Maddison has already picked up an injury, and it's looking likely that they won't dip their hands into the transfer market. They've been linked with Savinho, even though I don't understand the concept behind it. A player who his biggest strength is coming in from the right. You have Kudus there, you have Brennan Johnson also is there. You have Odobeth, you have Matthias Stell. These are guys who are wingers. Kulusevski is also a player who prefers drifting in from the right. So I don't understand the logic behind that. They were linked with Morgan Gibbs-White, but the whole fiasco at Nottingham Forest stopped him from going there. So Dominic Solanke is the only striker going into the season with Richarlison. These are not guys that would inspire confidence. So with Thomas Frank, he's one of the best tacticians in the league. Hopefully, he gives them an advantage. But with the players that I'm seeing, I don't think they have a fair shot, challenging for Champions League places. I think at the end of the day, it'll probably be around Europa and Conference League. Same thing for United. I think there've been a lot of complaining from Ruben Amorim. For a manager who, your front three has been upgraded. You have a combination of almost 40 goals between Cunha and Mbeumo from last season, and yet you're still whining about more bodies. Mbeumo, Sesko, and Matthias Cunha looks like one of the best partnership already on paper. In midfield, I still think 104 million or 120 million for Baleba is excessive. You know, you have Emmanuel Ugarte, Kobe Maino in midfield. This is a combination that can work, a combination that is adequate, you know, for whatever it is that you want to do, regardless of your system. Your back three, and Yoro is still there, Matthias De Ligt is still there, a rejuvenated Harry Maguire. Maybe you bring in a goalkeeper, and I think this is a team that has the core of players that can challenge, you know, for European places also.
All right, there you have it. It's going to be an exciting Premier League season. I'm going to put you on the spot before we go on the break. 3 teams that will be relegated.
3 teams that will be relegated. Scott Parker and Burnley. Scott Parker
will go back?
Yes, Parker is captain relegation himself. I'm quite confident about Sunderland. I think they've done well in the market. I have a bad feeling about Brighton, and this might be. I think they will struggle a lot. Yeah, I think they might
get relegated.
Yeah, they might be down about. You know, in that relegation battle, it's very unpopular.
For me, it's Brentford.
It's very unpopular. Yeah, Brentford also will be down about. Leeds, yeah, I think Leeds is going down. Leeds, Burnley, and I think a team that didn't go down last season and would also go down. Brighton, the Brentfords of this world. If you know, Eberechi leaves Crystal Palace and they don't replace him, they would also be there and about in relegation dogfight. So yeah, for me, guarantee Leeds and Burnley. All
right, let's go on a short break. When we return, there's more on the other side. There's still Sports Pizza, your favorite sports show on TV. Welcome back. It's the second half of your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. Of course, Edwin and Bankole is still in the building. Remember, you can follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. We'll head straight to the Spanish La Liga quickly. Bankole, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, we know the top 3. But surprisingly, bookmakers have put Real Madrid as favorites.
I don't understand the logic of the bookmakers. I think it's just a trap for people to put in their money on Real Madrid and then they get ripped off. I think Barcelona are still in a better position to defend their title. Real Madrid have a lot of questions to answer. Xabi Alonso, to be specific, who are his preferred centre-back partnership? Is he a back 3 or is he a back 2? Do you have Den Huysen, Rudiger, Eder Militao can't stay fit these days? Is David Alaba the left back or his centre-back is Fel?
He needs to be fit first.
Yeah, is it Felamendi or Frank Garcia? The conundrum of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Also in midfield, Jude Bellingham's best position is he going to be up front or as a central midfielder? You have question marks over Tchouaméni. I think in recent years he has not lived up to the expectation a lot of people had for him while he was at Monaco. So Camavinga also has struggled to stay fit. So up front, that's another set of questions. Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Endrick, and Gonzalo Garcia. So all of this he still has to find a way to fit all of these puzzles together. But for Barcelona, I think it's quite clear they already have an identity from last season. They have how they want to play. There's still a lot of time for them to still find solutions in the transfer market for Inigo Martinez, who just left. The transfer money and they made from Inigo, I think they can use it to register the likes of Ronnie Bargi, Marcus Rashford, and the like. So I think Barcelona are still in a better position. Lamine Yamal, doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. Rafinha doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. In midfield, the Pedris of this world, Gavi is back to full fitness. Marc Bernal is also back into the team. So I think they're good. I don't think Real Madrid, would pose much of a fight, against Barcelona. I think it's still their title to defend.
Quickly, Atletico Madrid, they spent big last season. They've spent big again this summer. What are they expecting from them?
So I think they have to challenge for the title. I think Diego Simeone has gone under the radar for a very long time. I think the idea of them still being underdogs is still what is going on around fans. That's still their perception amongst a lot of football fans. But the reality is that they've spent enough money to be challenging for the title. They've outspent Barcelona in the last 4 seasons. They've outspent the league in 3 of the last 4 seasons. So I don't think we should be talking about Atletico Madrid and underdogs in the same sentence. They've spent money on Buena. They've spent money on Johnny Cardoso this season. They spent 80 million on Julian Alvarez last season. Alexander Soloth also came in last season. So I think this is a team that should be challenged. This is a team that does not have any excuse. Simeone is out of excuses. If he does not win the league, then maybe it's time to start thinking of transitioning out of the Simeone era.
All right, from Spain, we head straight back home where Remo Stars, Rivers United, Kwara United, and of course Abia Warriors were in the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederations Cup draw. For Remo Stars, they face the champions of Comoros. If they pass that stage, they're going to face Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah, so I think they might, struggle against the champions of Comoros. We've seen how these guys are playing on the Chan Championship. I think if they get past that, I don't think they are getting past Sundowns. I don't see any way forward for Remo Stars. It was nice that they won the league, but I don't think anybody expected them, to go and do well on the continent. For Rivers United also, I don't see them doing well. Whoever it is that will be the champions of DR Congo, most likely TP Mazembe. I don't see them beating TP Mazembe. For Abia Warriors. Also, I think it is first time out that they would also be crashing out. I don't see them doing anything significant.
All right, so Abia Warriors will face Malian side Joliba, while Kwara United are up against Ashanti Kotoko. Finally, on this segment, before we do another break, start bench drop. The new season, 3 new forwards in 3 teams. João Pedro, Chelsea, Manchester Kuna, Manchester United, and Ekitike, Liverpool.
For me, I'm a huge fan of João Pedro.
Okay.
I've always been a huge fan of João Pedro. While he was at Brighton, I was surprised that he was not playing much more as a striker at Brighton. Yeah. But now that we have seen him as a striker at Chelsea, we're seeing the best of João Pedro. He has scored 5 goals in his last 5 matches for the club. So I think I will be starting João Pedro. I will be benching Hugo Ekitike. I think he's also a very, very intelligent forward. I think his physicality and his technical ability will translate well with Liverpool. For Cunha, the reason why I'm dropping Cunha is because I'm conflicted as to what his preferred position is. Is he a 10? Is he a 9? Is he a left winger or a right winger? So I don't think he has a position you can say he can own. Even at Wolves, he was given a freedom that I don't think we'll be getting at United. So at United would have to play as one of the 2 10s behind the striker, or play as the 9. So it remains to be seen how that will plan out.
All right, let's go on a short break. Our video for the week. When we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner. Yeah, look away, Liverpool fans. For Crystal Palace fans, they are in high heavens. What a win, Bankole, for Crystal Palace.
Absolutely, for a team that waited 100 years for their first major trophy, having 2 in the space of 4 months is absolutely incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. It's time for our Tipsters Corner. We have 2 games for you, one from the Premier League and the other from the Spanish La Liga. Manchester United versus Arsenal, Real Madrid versus Osasuna. So for Real Madrid against Osasuna, I think I'll be going with a Real Madrid win or an over 1.5. Okay. Osasuna is not exactly the best of teams to start your season against. They seem like a boogie team, especially for the big teams, the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona. But I think Real Madrid should be doing enough to beat them. Over 1.5, Real Madrid win and over 1.5 should be enough. For Man United Arsenal, now that's the difficult question. I think for Arsenal, I think they would have enough to not lose against United. I think probably a double chance Arsenal or Arsenal to score also seems like an option. Arsenal multi goals 1-3 also seems like something that you can bank on. I don't see them losing to Manchester United. I think they'll just do enough to, if not pick up the win, at least not lose.
Corners market?
Corners market is quite tricky. The Community Shield, a lot of people sweated or were sweating over.
Was this Arsenal? They like playing corners?
Yeah, but it depends on the United we see. I don't think it's going to be a United that would also sit back. The more chances of you seeing corners is if you are playing against a team with a low block. The deflection. So I don't see United sitting back. So it's going to be quite tricky. Both teams will try to hold on to the ball, and the chances of that happening is going to affect corners also going on in the game. So I think is the safer bet would be Arsenal's double chance or Arsenal multi goals.
All right, that's much we can take on today's edition of Sports Quiz. I'm sure you've had so much fun with us. We'll do this same time and next week. Bankole, always a pleasure doing this.
Always a pleasure to be here, Edwin. It's always nice to be doing this alongside you. And to our viewers out there, have yourself a lovely week.
Remember to follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. My name is Edwin Onyebole. Said do have a sporting week. episode.